Welcome back. So what if a victim could speak from the grave? Well, this morning, our spotlight shines on new AI technology that allows for just that. Christopher Pelkey was the victim of a road rage incident that took his life, sadly. But even though Christopher was killed, he still had a voice in his case.
Hello. Just to be clear for everyone seeing this, I am a version of Chris Pelkey recreated through AI that uses my picture and my voice profile. I was able to be digitally regenerated to share with you today. But here is insight into who I actually was in real life. Take a look.
All right, I'm Chris Pelkey. I served with the United States Army in the infantry. I'm from upstate New York.
So, as you can see from my video, I recorded in 2021. This here is a true representation of who I was, you know, not how the courtroom portrayed me. So, I would like to make my own impact statement. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot. And for everyone who has supported my family and loved ones through 3.5 years and 2 trials, I wish I could be with you all today. To your honor, Judge Lang, thank you for making yourself available to see this case to the end, especially when the rescheduled trial conflicted with your daughter's spring break. To Gabriel Horcasitas, the man who shot me. It is a shame we encountered each other that day in those circumstances. In another life, we probably could have been friends. I believe in forgiveness and in God who forgives. I always have, and I still do. Thank you to everyone for being here. It means more than you know. Well, I'm gonna go fishing now. Love you all. See you on the other side.
My goodness, can you believe what we just saw? So that was played in the courtroom right before the judge imposed sentence for the man who killed Christopher Pelkey. And he was sentenced to the max, 10.5 years in prison for the crime of manslaughter. And now we're so pleased to welcome on the show Chris Pelkey's sister, Stacey Wales. Stacey, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And might I just say, first off, we're so sorry for the loss of your brother, and we're so moved at what we just witnessed. How did you come up with the idea for that?
Julie, thank you so much for telling this story. It was about a week and a half before we went to sentencing, and we had known for 2 years that we would be able to make impact statements. I'd actually been writing my impact statement since the first trial. This was the second trial in his case, and we finally were going to be able to be heard May 1st of 2025. So a week and a half before the trial, before the sentencing happened, I was trying to pen my own thoughts. I'd actually been keeping a notepad for 2 years with ongoing victims' impact statements that I wanted to make, and it just wasn't coming out. And I actually wasn't able to even read what I had written for those last 2 years. It was too painful to revisit. And when I started to write down what I wanted to say, it just was at such odds with what I thought Chris would say. And I couldn't bear to echo for myself, as myself, what I thought he would have said. So then I had the idea, well, why can't I just write down what I think he would say? I knew him very well. I knew him best, as my mother did. He lived with me for 6 months before he died, with me and my family. We were completely integrated. We had talked about controversial opinions before, and I knew where he stood on many issues, as did everybody who knew him, because he was a very black and white person, and you knew where he stood on issues and opinions. So I turned to my husband, who I knew had the capability to make AI avatars, and I said, I'd like to make Chris's impact statement heard at sentencing. And I'd like you to bring him to life from a picture we have and have it sound like him and read the words that I wrote down. I've been writing my impact statement for 2 years, but I wasn't able to get that down. I put down for him what he said in 5 minutes. And I did it the old-fashioned way with pen and paper. There was no AI involved in anything he said.
Wow, Stacey. Stacey, did it bring you more comfort in a strange way, seeing him and hearing his voice at that critical moment before the judge imposed the sentence?
I knew that he was being humanized, and that was our goal. Our victim's rights attorney, Jessica Gattuso, let us know that our goal at sentencing was to humanize Chris and to make the judge feel. And so I launched a campaign to reach everybody that I could find in his network and social media that ever knew him, from his elementary school teacher to his prom date, to people he went to the military with, to where he lived in New York and Texas and Colorado and Arizona, and did missions work over in Liberia. We heard from everyone, from every aspect of his life. 49 victim statements poured in for the judge to read ahead of time. This was not provided in a vacuum. Many people think that this may have been the only thing that the judge weighed his decision on, but 49 other voices were heard before he ever heard or saw Chris. In fact, 10 of us went down to the courthouse that day, and we made our impact statements live in person. And 2 of those were my 14-year-old twins. How could anything I say be more impactful than the grief of a child? They stood there with the judge in front of them and the shooter over their shoulder to talk to the judge. It was profound. Pictures that we played, 65 pictures that went along with everything that people were telling the judge in person. And then the final thing was to have Chris speak. And so by the time the judge heard that, and he even commented that he thought that what Chris said was very representative of what the kind of man that he was learning about. And that brought me incredible comfort and peace. And I knew that this was impactful, and I knew that this was humanizing Chris when the defense attorney himself was the very last person to be heard in that courtroom before the sentence was handed down. And the defense attorney even referenced this AI and said Christopher Pelkey would possibly have been friends. And I tend to agree. I've been through his cell phone and have read many hobbies that they had together. And I tend to agree. And he thought that that should have leniency for the judge. But what's most important is what Chris didn't say. Chris didn't ask for a sentence. He didn't ask for the max. And the reason is why. Number one, I don't actually know what Chris would want for the sentence. He did believe in justice and he did believe in accountability, but I don't know how many years he would like. And so I wasn't able to echo that, but I knew that he would forgive this shooter. I could not hear that in my head.
Wow, it was profound, and I think perhaps even shocking for some people to see that, to see the forgiveness, shocking in the very best way. Stacey, tell me, you touched on this a little bit about how the court had also the ability to consider the victim impact statements from several other family members and friends, all the people who loved your brother Christopher so much. And it is legal, as we learned in Arizona, for a victim impact statement to be delivered in this way. For any of our viewers who may be wondering, the statute says any way you would like to have it done as a surviving victim, you can present that way. Of course, there's always still going to be criticism from people outside watching the news who see it, and this has gone viral, as you know. What's your response to any criticism from people who say that, oh, that shouldn't be allowed or it's unfair? What do you say to that in response, Stacey?
Is it not fair for our opinions to be heard? This was an opinion piece. It was not put off as a deep fake or anything like that. It was clearly introduced. I also made my own impact statement before hitting play on this. And so I let the judge know that I would like Chris to be heard. This is how that I heard it. And as far as the fair piece, the defense side, the defendant and his family were also all heard in the same day. They had the same opportunity afforded by their defense attorney to write in letters, and they had. And his side, the defense attorney, had 3 people three people speak, including the shooter, at sentencing. So both sides were heard. Our side, we believe, was more impactful because of the severity of the crime, the severity of the missing. And the only way that the judge knew Chris was from 2 pieces of evidence offered in trial, from the autopsy photo and from the closed-circuit TV security camera of Chris being blown away on the street and dying on the road from a security camera that captured that. And so what is unfair? Humanizing Chris what is controversial here? If I had stood there and read a letter and I said, this is how I hear it from my brother, and I had a picture over my shoulder, would we be talking about this today? This hits a nerve because it's new technology. And 190 years ago, they had the same societal reaction to photography that was introduced. And can photography not be used for beauty and for good? It can. So can AI. Can photography be used for pornography or for pedophilia today even? So it is, who says it's not fair? I think it's perfectly fair that we are able to be heard, and we were so thankful we had that ability in Arizona to do so.
Yes, well, and appreciate your response to that. I applaud your creativity, Stacey, and I wish you and your family well as you've suffered an immeasurable loss.
Thank you.
And so every good wish going forward. Thank you kindly for your time this morning.
Thank you.